Same audience, they did go for Avatar, they did go for RRR.
RRR and Avatar would anyway have always done well. Hollywood versus Bollywood, Bollywood versus South. We're doing too much of that. We are storytellers, right? And when I get excited about a story, I want to tell it in the best way that I can. Bajrangi, I remember there was this chatter about, you really want to do a film with Salman at the peak of his career, where he's an action star, where he's not beating up anybody, he's only getting slapped around by people. You know, Pathaan is coming, it's got this unprecedented hype and excitement around it, and I really hope it does fantastic business. Hi, I'm Kabir Khan and you're watching this interview on Bollywood Hungama.
Kabir Khan, welcome to Bollywood Hungama.
Thank you.
Kabir, I'm interviewing you at a time when industry is going through some kind of a change. Everyone has their own opinion and views, how they look at this. At this point, as a maker who's going to get into his next project, what is your frame of mind?
So honestly, Rohit, for me, I cut out the chatter.
Right.
Because yes, of course, there's been a bit of a paradigm shift post the COVID. Things have changed. Viewing habits, viewing patterns, just the way people spend money, people's appetite for risk. You know, everything has changed, whether it's amongst the audience, whether it's amongst the people in the industry, actors, directors, producers. But at the end of the day, I mean, we are storytellers, right? And when I get excited about a story, I want to tell it in the best way that I can. So there's no point trying to then, bother about the kind of people are, the analysis being done, oh, this is the trend, this might work. Because honestly, we've also seen in the recent releases, nobody knows what works and nobody can predict like whether this film will go up or down. So I think the only thing that I can do as a storyteller is stay true to what excited me about the story, what made me want to make it, and just focus myself on saying that the best way I can do it. And keep my fingers crossed.
Right. But there's been a change in the way you think now. If I take you back to your earlier films, like how you would think, there's something more on your mind. Ye karna padega. People watch it much more closely.
Yes and no, Rohit. Yes, I won't. I'll be dishonest if I'll say that I don't think about it at all. As to sometimes you do try and understand has there been a shift in perspective of the audiences or not. But having said that, ultimately when I sit down to write and make it, it's my gut instinct again. Because I think that's the only way you can truly make your films. There's no way that even if you try and understand what's happening, there's no way that you can reorient your storytelling, because that will be dishonest. I firmly believe that every filmmaker makes the film he or she likes to watch.
Right.
And that, I think, is the only prism through which you can make a film. Because the moment you start second guessing for somebody else, you'll go wrong. Chances are you'll go wrong because you don't know the other person. You don't know, then you're just trying to, you're doing something that you don't inherently understand and like, and you're assuming somebody else will like. So I think you have to make it the way you like to make your films. And as I said, keep your fingers crossed that a large number of people sort of
go and watch it.
But
is there a this may help some other younger filmmakers how to cut out the chatter. There's so much chatter on your phone, people coming and tell you everyone is a trade analyst, everyone has a view also and have a platform also. How do you cut the chatter?
It's difficult, but I think the first thing you have to do is stay away from social media as much as you can, because that's just too much chatter happening. And along with the chatter, unfortunately, a lot of negativity happening. So there are not too many positive solutions, but there's no dearth of negative opinions and analysis. There's no point. You can't approach your work like that, right? You can't be in a negative frame of mind and always be afraid in what you're doing. The one thing that you have to have as a filmmaker is courage.
Right.
And you cannot always go with conventional wisdom, because if you go with conventional wisdom, it'll hold you back.
Right.
Every time somebody's pushed the envelope, it's because they've gone against conventional wisdom. Even in my own career, there have been times when people said, why would you want to do something like this? Why don't you go this way? And I tried and pushed, and those times it worked. Whether it's, if my first film, Kabul Express, with no love story, no songs, nothing, it worked for me. New York, politics was taboo. They said, why would you? So but we did a really political film where the protagonists die at the end. It was a huge commercial. You know, with Bajrangi, I remember there was this chatter about, you really want to do a film with Salman at the peak of his career, where he's an action star, where he's not beating up anybody, he's only getting slapped around by people. And I said, I don't know, it's the story that's telling me to do this.
Right.
We did it. It worked for us. So I'm saying, you know, you have to be able to learn how to cut off the chatter, and I think the one big starting point is stay away from social media as much as you can.
That's the key. Yeah, absolutely. You know, but you can't ignore the fact that you can't ignore the business output that 90 to 95% of the films in 2022 failed.
Yes.
How do you know? डर लगता है ये पढ़ के ये सब सुन के?
Yeah, but if you really look at it, there are several factors, and we cannot not pay attention to the fact that there was a pandemic that just shifted everything on this planet.
Yeah.
You know, it's not only our little industry that we are talking about. Across the globe, things have shifted, and there has definitely been a shift, as I said, in viewing patterns and expenditure patterns, and just the way people are approaching things. And of course, there will be a flux, and there has been a flux. There have been some films which are really good films, which should have done better business. There have been some really terrible films that didn't do business. They wouldn't have done business even if there was no pandemic. So I don't think, you know, sometimes we also have these knee-jerk reactions and this hurry to start predicting trends, you know, because we also have seen in the last 3-4 months the kind of films that have come and done really well, which every trade pundit was saying would not do well. Take Drishyam 2 for example, right? Look at the kind of business that film has done. But everybody was saying no, only spectacles will work, you know, things for the youth and love stories. There's no love story over there. The protagonist is playing the father of a grown-up girl. It's not really a spectacle film. It's story. It works brilliantly, right? So I'm saying we really need to sometimes not be in a hurry to try and predict trends and try and overanalyze. It's a very dynamic creature of a film. You can never really predict what's going to attract people and what's not going to attract people.
But you know, these same audience, they did go for Avatar, they did go for RRR. But what is this pattern? Is there an understanding that they will? How does one, according to you, decide they will watch something?
An RRR and an Avatar would anyway have always done well. They're good films. You know, I don't think it's this versus that. I think we're also making too much about the divides. We're doing too much about Hollywood versus Bollywood, Bollywood versus South. We're doing too much of that. I'm just happy that every time a film does well, it shows that people are still interested in a film, right? Today it might be a film from Hollywood or from the South. Tomorrow it will be a film from the Bombay industry. You know, Pathan is coming. It's got this unprecedented hype and excitement around it, and I really hope it does fantastic business. And then the moment it does that, will people say, "Oh, Bollywood is back." We don't know. That film brought it back. Maybe there may be some films after that might not do well, but that's natural. That's the natural state of the industry. So as I said, I try and stay away from over-analyzing and trying to fit everything into trends.
Right. But you know, the reason people were saying suddenly South is doing well, because quite a few films suddenly did well and also, you know, went to crazy numbers. So doesn't it look like a trend to you?
I don't think the number of films that we're talking about can give you a trend. Because, you know, you're actually at the end of the day talking about 3 or 4 films. Right? 3 or 4 films spread out over 5-6 months is not a trend. A trend has to exist for a longer period in time with many more films. I don't think that is happening. You know, there are films from Bollywood that have done well. You know, there has been a Bhool Bhulaiya, there has been a Drishyam. So I'm saying, I would not, as I said, you know, stay away. I would stay away from getting into this game of trends.
Right. You know, but there were also films which were very good films, and you know, we all enjoyed it. But people decided to watch it when they came on OTT. This is what you're saying, when the change has happened.
That's a straight
pandemic change.
Obviously, I mean, I can see it in myself. I am not going to as many films and I used to pre-pandemic, and it's not because it's thought out.
That's because you can afford the popcorn and parking. Why are you not going?
That's what I'm saying. Something has shifted, and it's not something that's thought out. It's something that just the other day Minnie and I were talking about, and I realized, yeah, we're not going back to the theatres as much as we used to. What has happened? Is it just the 2 years of staying away, in a certain sense, taken away the stamina of going to a theatre? But something has. And if I'm not, then, somebody who's not really related to the film industry and is just a normal, average, middle-class person, probably is also going to take time. But I'm very sure, I'm very positive, it's definitely going to come back.
Right.
Because there's something about theatre viewing that will never be replaced by anything. There's something about community watching and viewing of a film that cannot be replaced by any other medium. And if it had to, it would have done that in the West before us, in Korea before us. Korea is a very, very interesting example. It has, because people talk about this whole OTT and OTTs taking away theatrical, right? Korea has, we all know, the strongest OTT content in this world, right? We are all lapping it up, let alone them.
K-dramas are,
Along with that, they also have 100% broadband penetration in Korea. You can literally sit on the street and be streaming, right? So strongest internet connections, best OTT content. But along with this exists one more fact: highest per capita theatre going audience in the world. Right? So that means there is something that draws them to the big screen also to watch content. So I'm not, as I said, the death knell for the theatrical releases has been announced too many times. And I'm sure everything will slowly go back to normal. I mean, you might call me an optimist, which I am, but I do believe that things will go back to normal.
Right. What was the last thing you watched in a theatre and you enjoyed?
The last one that I watched
was Avatar? Or
Avatar was not the last one. Avatar, of course. Actually, let me say Avatar because I saw it at the IMAX. And it was an unbelievable experience. I think it's just the joy of... See, also, every time we do go back, Rohit, after the pandemic, I think we get extra joy. Because sometimes it's just the pleasure of seeing 1,000 people sit together, munching away on their popcorn, watching a film. I mean, that in itself is a thrill. And then if the film is good and as engaging as Avatar, then obviously, it's fabulous.